He is.
What's
How you
up?
doing, brother?
Good.
Good to have you on today. The author, producer,
I'm a
everything that is
writer.
literary. You do it all. I am so glad that you're on today. How was your day so far?
Good. I'm busy. We've been in the development room working on a couple shows right now, so it's crazy.
Awesome, awesome. Now you've come from a long way. You started off in kind of a urban hood environment, right? And you developed and grew. What was your main motivation as a young man to like find this path that you're on now?
Well, I grew up in Palo Alto, California, the east side, right? We call the Dangerous Minds side. So a lot of people
Yes.
don't know it, but the movie Dangerous Minds took place in my neighborhood that I grew up in.
Wow.
In like one of the third worst places to live in America at the time. You know, in like the late 70s, early 80s, it was dangerous. And so
Mm,
I think I come from an old breakdance crew. So of course, you know, back then there was plenty of gangs, and I was part of a gang when I was a kid, but it was a different time.
yes.
We were much more crews that battled against other, you know, cliques and gangs and whatever. So it wasn't like you see today. You
Yeah.
know, even though some of those gangs still exist, they came from, at least in my world, we were more the battle group. The
Mm,
what do you want to call it? The clique part of it. We were all like one little nation like that. But anyway, so I grew up in this world, and my mom was always fed up with me hanging out with my homeboys, dancing on the streets for money. So, and I always kind of could sing a little bit, and so I ended up becoming a triple threat by auditioning for the Palo Alto Children's Theater, and they were at routines. Now, remember, I'm on the floor with my homeboys dancing on the streets doing routines.
you're right.
You know, the kids in theater are like 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, and yeah, I already can kick my leg up here. You know what I mean? So we'll put him in the front. You
I
know.
love it.
So that kind of saved me a little bit. I started doing more theater. Now, my homeboys got worse as crack came into the neighborhood. But when I was in it, we were just dancing. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Yeah.
I love that. And you slipped into writing. That I know as a writer, it writing is one of those things that writers are very sensitive about their stuff. They are very sensitive. I haven't met one writer that isn't like that. That is a little anxious, a little confident, a little bit of everything. How do you manage when you write something to find the confidence in what you wrote? Basically, how did you find your voice?
Actually, that's kind of easy. So, and I don't mean that it was easy, but it's easy to say what happened. So I was telling you about growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in. Well, from the time I was 12 to the time I was 14, I was hanging around my homeboys. By the time I was 14, I got into the mod, punk rock, kind of skinhead scene, which a lot of people skinheads like, not the Nazi skinheads, the reggae skinheads. So I got into that scene. So literally, you remember the movie Dope?
Yes.
I was him in my neighborhood, except we wore like 60 suits like the Temptations, and you know, and we drove Vespa scooters, like vintage scooters from the
Come on.
60s.
You still
So
have some now. I saw Batman
I
on
rode one here today. But I drove my Starsky and Hutch car today.
all
Um,
right.
Grew up in this area where, you know, being a black gay kid from my neighborhood,
Mm,
it's like the black people in the neighborhood. And so, because I rode around in a scooter in a little 60s suit, you know, and I had the Kid and Play haircut before Kid and Play, you know, and so I've always been that odd, you know, underdog character. So when I started
yes.
focused on underdog characters, but I focused on them in more of a dark world, like the murder, death, kill world. So that's why it's, you
Mm.
know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. And you currently hold on. You were writing for recently. You got some awards, I should say, on Sundance, or nominated at least some spots with Sundance, other film festivals. What's your favorite film or TV show that you've written on?
Hmm.
'Cause you've done a few different
I haven't
things.
been passionate about produced yet, if that answers the question. But I mean, there's many things I've done that I'm proud of. My
Yes.
favorite, which I think you were starting to ask me, is West Side Story.
Yes.
It changed my life. You know,
Mm.
and I remember I was part of my homeboys breakdancing on the streets and came home, you know, like the summer of when I was 13 years old, around 83 or something. And on the screen, this, da-na-na-na-na, and I was like, what the hell is this? You know, I recorded that song on an old ass VHS, and I would watch this thing every day. I knew every line,
Mm.
knew every dance move. And my mom and it would trip because I'd just be sitting there and watching it over and over, studying the dance move, learning how to do a pirouette, like all these.
Yes.
I'm like 12, 13 years old, you know? And so I just sit on the floor stretching, learning how to do the splits because I wanted to kick my leg up to here, you know? And so that movie made me be that person. So, of course, years later, I ended up doing that show in San Francisco, and it changed my life. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Well, you also have as somebody just mentioned about your podcast, the Screenwriters Rant. How did you come about that? What was the vision for that?
So I was teaching around 2006 or something. I started, or 5 or 6, I started teaching at the Organization of Black Screenwriters. And I would just get up and just talk about, like, here's how I got a script to Austin Film Festival. Here's how I got a script to Sundance, whatever. And then years later, I started, I made my first film called Troublesome that became critically acclaimed. And so I would get up there and say, here's what I did, you know, here's how I made it. Here's the mistakes I made. Here's what you shouldn't do. You know, here's how you get a star in your movie. Here's how you get product placement. Here's how you get, you know, money involved. Here's how you get, like, and I just started teaching people secrets that I did because I learned my good friends, who's one of the biggest line producers in town, about logistics. And so that's a whole nother side story where I went to Utah for a month and worked with him on a movie, and he taught me kind of like the Karate Kid, where everything wax on, wax off. And I was like, why am I doing all these stupid things? And when I was done, when I came back to LA, I can't even walk. Like if I came to your house or to your office building, I'd walk in there and in my head I'd be, how could we shoot this thing? I can't help it. Lock that in my head now. So when I started moving into producing my own projects and those projects, that became a superpower, you know, that I knew how to help people with how to get the basic things and how to work things out and use favors with actors, and just, you know, I knew how to get crews together. And so it just built into that thing. So tying that into how we started the podcast is that we wanted a bigger audience. I was to these 30, 40 people a month, and given this game, and some of those people I helped produce their own projects, but eventually I was like, we could be doing so much more. You know what I mean? We could really be dropping a lot of game. And so my friend Lisa Bolakaja and I started the Rant Room in like 2014, having no idea what would happen. And then here we are still going in 2020, you know, 300,000 listeners listen to the show. You know what I mean? So who knew? You know, and I hardly promote the show. You know,
well, good information always gets out. You know, good information gets out. So, and when you know what you're doing, you know, when you're a professional at it, somebody's bound to listen, right?
Right. And then here, start the Writers Guild podcast, 3rd and 5th. So I do that one probably about 10. I probably do 10 interviews a year for them on that one. So yeah, I know we're jumping all over the place, but yeah.
Oh no, you're fine. This is really good. I'm glad to meet another writer. First of all, somebody who's definitely in it. As a Black man, do you have any pieces of film that have stood out to you and left an impression? Now, I'll tell you, for me, I will never forget Harlem Nights. And the reason why I remember that, it was the first movie I went to with my parents that was a predominantly Black film, and I was a kid. Right. And I remember you shot my pinky toe. You know, that was like my favorite part. But watching it back, it was such a dynamic cast. The script was actually good, and it was funny. And so I thought, like, this is what writing is supposed to be. What for you was an amazing Black film, or some Black films that have stood out in your mind and really left an impression?
I mean, there's so many, but unfortunately, some people are not going to like that I'm going to say this, but the color purple changed my life in a lot of ways. Like my managers, in my reps at UTA, we talk about this now. Now that we can go back to UTA, thank God. We talk about how I tell them how I'm an old soul. You know, there's a reason why my favorite music is 60s reggae and ska music. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I always say I'm a vampire. I was 300 years old. You know what I mean? And so,
Right.
So for me, the color purple did something to me. There was something about the year 84, 85 that was going on. I got into the punk rock scene. You know, this movie came out. There was a lot of tension in the air. There was just a lot of things going on. I was dealing with my sexuality. You know, there was a lot for me. And so that movie made me want to get on the other side of the screen. I just didn't know how that would happen at the time. I thought it would be on the screen. You know what I mean? And eventually that I pivoted a whole 180.
Yeah.
Now
No, it's right there. As a Black writer, we are noticing more LGBT film and TV characters coming out. But as an article said recently, that even though there's more LGBT presence, that doesn't mean there's more Black LGBT presence or people of color. What do you feel about that, and the limitation of Black representation in the LGBT space?
I mean, this is something I talk about a lot. I mean, it exists. I mean, it's the reason why, you know, like we're so proud of, you know, Lena Waithe and, you know, Ben Jones, and a lot of these cats are out here, you know, representing big time for us, you know, and making us look good. And I think that it's opening doors. Like I'm the co-chair of the Committee of Black Writers. I'm also chair of the Education Committee, which is the biggest, most powerful committee there at the Writers Guild. And I did that because I wanted to find ways to make sure that we are visually there. I used to be the vice chair of the LGBT committee too. I'm all over the place. Committees right now, it's ridiculous. And two of them I'm the chair of, right? So, and so I figured what I do, for example, say we're having a meeting, right? We decide we're going to do a panel on, you know, post-production, right? And I'll just sit like, oh, we're going to have this person on the panel, this person. And I'll listen. In my head, I'm going, there's nobody Black on this panel. Okay, I'm going to wait until they finish, and I got some shit to say.
Right.
Okay, this is really cute. However, we need somebody Black on the panel. You know, I always start there. And I said, if it's not somebody Black, then we need somebody, you know, of color. But
yes.
You know, and since I've been on that committee, you're starting to see the influx of even more people of color on that committee just because I'm there and I have a presence. You know what I mean? And so when you ask me that question, I think we just have to do our job to make sure that we at least work on us first and then we work on everybody else. You know?
I love that.
And I don't know if you read the article that we put out, the Dear Hollywood article.
Yes.
And so that article that myself, Michelle Amore, and Bianca Sims put out, when we first submitted it to the Writers Guild, because we thought it was just going to go to the Guild, and they loved it. They were like, wait a minute, let's put this out on deadline. We were like, holy shit, you know, now it's 30 publications everywhere, right? And so they came back with, oh, you know, by the way, your numbers where it says there's 80-something% of white, you know, writers, male, straight writers are here. Actually, the number is this, and the number for, you know, Black writers is like, it was like another 6 or 7%. We're like, where'd you get that number from?
Right. Just made it up.
Oh, there's like 13% people of color. We were like, no, bitch, we said Black.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they keep putting us in this whole category, and I relate to this. I'm not sure what your sexual thing is. As a gay man, they logged me in with gay, Black.
Right.
You know, what the fuck is the I? I mean, I have no idea. What's the A? You know what I mean? All these different QIAs and all this. I'm like, I have no idea. And I support all of them, but we're in that clump, right?
Mm.
So if they get on the census and figure out like what are the stats, they still go, oh, there's all these people, there's all these LGBTQIA people. I'm like, okay, how many of them are trans? Oh, we don't.
Yes.
How many of them are bi? I don't know. You know what I mean? I want facts, right? So that's what we're asking for. Sorry, you got me all revved up.
No, I love that. I mean, I feel like we're in such a unique time in history where, where white privilege is coming out in a lot of ways. Actually, one of my favorite preachers, white preachers, Clint Brown, just did a whole thing about Ed and Cheryl Brady, two white preachers that speak to a lot of the black demographic, just did a big thing. Both of them separately did a big thing about speaking to white privilege and how you can have it and not be aware of it. I mean, that's the reality for a lot of people who have privilege. They don't realize that they have it until somebody calls them out on it. And so there is that privilege to be a white person and then say words like all people of color, 13%. That doesn't even make sense to say. You're standing in front of a black man, you need to give a statistic about black people. Like, I appreciate you saying, what about the Asian population and what about the Latino community? But I'm a black man. I want to hear that. I want to see me represented. And so that just goes back to a bit of that white privilege. You're in so many of those spaces and rooms. How, as a black man, do you know how to conduct yourself? Not just as a black man, but as a gay black man, do you know how to conduct yourself in those kind of spaces? Where did you learn how to develop that?
I talk a lot is in this industry, you have to know who you are. Right. I talk to a lot of emerging writers today who still are hiding behind the thing that they are, right? Whether it's being gay, whether it's they're an alcoholic, whether it's, you know what I mean, that they actually are sleeping in the car, whatever the thing is, they don't want you to know.
Yes.
Is as you see, I told you about being the black dude from the hood who is gay, who's into the punk rock scene, all these
yes.
that somebody would think were negative, but I've used it as a positive. You know what I mean? So, like, I'll be 50 in September, right?
What?
No, brother, just a vampire. Don't tell nobody that.
It's that vampire status, yes.
And so I tell people that, I'm insecure, So I think we all are in our own way, but I've learned to use that negative insecurity as a positive. I take care of myself and never drank, smoked, done drugs in my life. You know what I mean? Never had a thing of weed. People are like, how are you in the gang when you didn't do it? It's easy. The homeboys that go, yo, man, pass this shit. And I pass it to the next motherfucker.
There you go.
It's really easy. You know what I mean? And so I'm saying that to say that if you take care of yourself a certain way, you will always shine. So I make sure that when I first meet people, I just throw it away that I'm black, gay, poor, whatever the fuck I was before. So that, forgive me for cussing so much, it's just who I am.
You're fine. You're fine.
All right. And so I feel if you throw away the thing that you think is weak, somebody will lean in on that. Somebody will go, oh, that's fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, I talk a lot about with younger writers, emerging writers, about being in the writer's room. And the best people who pitch are the ones who tell you truth. So if we have a storyline about 2 or 3 characters and the character is an alcoholic, I use this reference a lot, and your father, mother, sister, brother, cousin, somebody close to you was, and you were like, oh, I'm not going to tell that story about my mom or my brother or my father or my cousin, you shouldn't be in that room.
Wow.
You need
That's
to be
good.
that open to tell the truth, because that's like, wow, now we can take that story. That means they have more stories. You know what I mean? They've lived with it.
Yes.
You hide that shit in. That's why your shit's not making it on the board. You know what I mean? So you have to be the person who's comfortable enough to know that all that negative stuff you experience is actually a positive for somebody else. You know what I mean?
I love that. That is one of the things that I've been in my love coaching business, helping people understand that your charity gets you clarity, or clarity gets you charity. Totally. That people who are very clear about who they are, what they've been through, what they stand for. Those people get the most charity in life, and not charity like handouts, but charity in the sense of understanding, of compassion, of people taking more time, like you said, the leaning in and wanting to hear more and wanting to understand. It's the people that hide, that make assumptions about that person and all those things. So really being clear allows you to get more compassion from others.
Let me ask you, sorry to interrupt you, let me ask you this. Think about this as an author yourself. You probably have young writers, emerging writers come to you all the time going, yeah, I'd love to write a book or whatever. And you go, what's it about?
Yes.
And they tell you about it and you go, well, where'd you get that idea from? And they give you this, well, actually it came from here. And it's like some amazing thing. And you're like, why you didn't start with that? That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Because they thought, well, I didn't think you wanted to know that. Like that's the, and what happens is we talk about screenwriting a lot, where you go on a project, right? Or you go to meet a producer, executive, or whatever, and they just read your script, for example. What a lot of writers don't know is the script that they read is just a sample that they wanted to see to meet you. Oh, this person can write. Most emerging writers think, oh, they read my script, they want to produce it.
Right.
More time, if they want to produce it, all of a sudden your manager or agent will get a call and fucking, business affairs is like, hey, we got a deal. You know what I mean?
Wow.
If they just want to meet you, they just want to meet the writer to see who's this person, who's this woman, who's this guy who wrote this thing. And so your job is to go to the meeting and allow them to go, oh, so here's the things we're working on, right? I always go, what's the thing you really want to do? Right? Because
right.
the producer has that one or two projects that they're dreaming to do that either if they had the budget to do it, if they had the time to do it, they would do it. That's the one. Because they're going to stick with that one, right?
Yes.
So, which is why I have 9, 12 things going on right now, because I'm really good about going into a meeting, even on fucking Zoom or Skype, and coming back with them wanting me to pitch something. Because I'll listen and I'll go, that sparked something in me. It reminds me of when I was a kid. So I always go back to my childhood. And I go, oh, remember you were telling me a minute ago about that thing? Let me tell you this. When I was
good.
My sister had this boyfriend that was just like that, right? I go right to it. And I'll just do like a short little story because I want you to get a sense that I have 12 more to tell you, right? What fail to realize is you go in these meetings, and even if we like your script or your pitch or whatever, right? Producers are sitting there going, who do we know who we could afford to pay for this thing, to write this? They don't think you could do it yet. They have no faith in you because you haven't done anything yet. So
right.
That you tell them nobody else could do this but me without saying that, right? So the way you do that is you tell them a story on why you'd be the perfect person, but you never say, I'm the perfect person. You tell them the truth. You know what I mean? And everybody has it in them. It's just everybody doesn't want to tell you all their secrets. You learn to lean into those secrets, boom.
That's powerful. What do you do to encourage those writers that come to you and you're encouraging them to lean into their secrets? What's one of the things you say to help them open up more?
Well, I'll give them, usually I'll try to give them some sort of analogy of something, like I was telling you a moment ago about when you go on a meeting or you're in the middle of a pitch and you just, or I'm sorry, the analogy I gave you about the book, about if somebody wrote a book and they just tell you what the book's about, but they don't tell you why and how they wrote the book. You know what I mean? And so I give them that analogy. Like, think how much more deeper it sounds. Like want to read it because you told me where it came from.
Yeah.
As telling me here's the story. That's not as good to me. It might be a great story, but imagine just that little 30-second tag of why. You know what I mean? That little why is going to grab me way more. Like, I'm fascinated with you, to be honest. I was scrolling through your Instagram, watching some of your videos, and you get like emotional about shit, which I find fascinating. You're comfortable. You know what I mean? You're vulnerable, which I appreciate because I am too. I'll be talking about something, and I'll tell you a story, and I'll be in tears in a minute. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You have to be that vulnerable and comfortable with yourself because they won't forget that. A lot of people see it as a weakness. I see it as a positive.
Wow.
That you're that comfortable to open up. So those are the things that I would tell writers is to not be afraid to tell the truth. You
I
know?
love that. Have you practiced that in some of your relationships and friendships?
Yeah, I think because I was an actor since I was 12 years old, until I was 30, 31, I study human behavior. Just who I am. I can look at people a mile away and be like, they're a little suspect. They're nice, but suspect. You know what I'm saying? And times out of 10, I'm pretty damn near right. And for example, a lot of people ask me like, I've been with my husband for October will be 19 years.
Yes. Right? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And we got married 5 years ago in October. So we got married on our 14th anniversary.
Ooh.
You know, so that we wouldn't have two different anniversaries, right?
Because you're too busy. You're too busy to remember that. Too busy to keep up with all that.
Yeah. I'm like, no, let's keep 2 for 1. And so I told him, I said, people always ask me, how do I have a relationship for this long? I said, it's actually really easy for me. Yes, I live in LA where there's tons of temptation and all that shit, but it's easy for me in the sense because I don't sacrifice. A lot of people will do this. Say you're attracted to guys who look like Tay Diggs. I'm just fucking spitballing here, right?
That's a good one.
Right? But you keep ending up with people who look like somebody else.
Yes.
Right? So every time you see a Tay Diggs type of person, you're going to be going, damn, I wish I had that. I don't sacrifice. I go for the thing that makes me go, damn, I wish I had that. So that I don't have to go, damn, this is cute and I got it, but damn, right?
Yes.
Right, that I think that a lot of people have. Now, that doesn't mean the relationship's going to be perfect, but you got the physical person that you wanted, but the attributes of most of the other things that you have will show up. Like I believe, and I tell a lot of my younger emerging female writers this all the time, you go on a date with a guy, interview them. They're like, what do you mean? I said, oh, you want me to tell you what happened with me and my husband on our first date?
Uh-oh, go ahead. Tell us.
Let me give you some, hey, homie. The trip. So I see him in the gym for like a month. Right? We met at the gym at Gold's Gym here in Hollywood. And I'd see him, I might wave, he might wave back, and I'd be like, oh, he's so handsome, blah, blah, blah. And this is back when I was in dance class like 4 days a week, right? So I'd be up there just killing it, right? So every day, me and my friend Tigar's a big dancer with Janet and all that, J-Lo and all these people, we used to be in the class and we'd be in the front. So when it's all over, he'd let us do it by ourselves so everybody could see like how it's supposed to look, right? He'd always be, my husband Scott would be on this treadmill watching us. So one day I was like, I'm just gonna go say hi to him. So I took my shirt off, right? This is when I was,
With a dancer body, yes.
And so I took my shirt off and we did our whole little dance routine. We was killing it. And I went out and I just walked up to him. I was like, what's your name? And we just started talking. I give him my card. A week goes by. I hear crickets. Now, this is some game for you. Trip this. So I'm coming in the gym like a week later, me and my friend Valerie, and we're about to walk in the door and he's coming out the door. And I bump into him and I'm like, oh, you don't call nobody? Like that. He says, oh, I'll call you. I said, all right. So we go to lunch. We went to Bossa Nova on Melrose. We sit down. And I sat down and I like to say, so what's his name? He said, who? I said, your boyfriend. He said, how do you know I have a boyfriend? I said, let me tell you something about me. Studying human behavior for 20 years, right? Nothing gets by me. I'll see it in your eyes. I'll see when you're lying. I did it all. You might tell me everything now because
Come on.
this is how I started our relationship.
I love it.
We sat down. I was even 2 minutes in. I was going in on his ass, right? And he was like, yeah, you know, we're in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. We've been together for 20 years. We sleep in separate rooms, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? So I wanted to know what the facts were. The other thing is my previous relationship I was in was with somebody who wasn't fully out. So my new rule was my next dude, never do that again. Custom. Here's the scenario. It's Christmas time, right? You about to go home. Can I go? Because you can come with me. Day one.
Day one.
Two people. They sit there and find out later that, oh, I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. Bitch, did you ask?
Probably not. Honestly, probably not even a little bit. That's real.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Interview them and ask them the questions that you went through before so you don't have to go through it again.
That is the power of really, like, for you attribute it to having studied people, but for other people who don't have that skill, I tell people to date often because that really helps you find out. The dating phase of love really helps you find out what you want and need. And it helps you build up those questions that you're able to dive right into, because until you've done that research and done that homework, you'll just ask stuff you got offline. But when it's been real to you and you've gone through something, that's when you can be like, okay, so these are the ones that really matter. These are my top 10 that I really need to ask before I leave this first date. I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
I used to get into it. I mean, my husband's white, and I get into it a lot with, well, I used to. It's been years since I've had this issue. But early into some of my black friends had a big issue with the fact that I was, you know, with this white guy. And And I mean, all my boyfriends have been white. I mean, it's what I'm attracted to. I can't help it. You know what I mean? Believe me, I see that we're beautiful. It's just not what I was attracted to. That's it. You can't control that. And so I've told people this, and here's another theory that I have is this. And I love that your show's about relationships because I like this shift. Is this. About this shit all day, I've told you. So
I love it.
The trip. I believe this. I never trust anyone when they say, oh, I like all kinds of people. You lying your ass off. Here's why. Trip this. Take this game. So trip this. Here's why. Here's what I always say to that. Okay, I believe that you do like the Latin guy and the, you know, the Brazilian guy and the black guy and the white guy. I believe you like all of that. But there's one of them that you think about the most. Which one is the one you masturbate about? Excuse me to be nasty. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dude. Because that's the one you should be with. Right? Because if you don't, you're going to be doing what I was saying a minute ago. Going, damn, I wish I had the whole time. It might be great, but you're still going to be over there fantasizing about that thing you don't have yet. It's amazing how that works. But the way that I study human behavior is that's what I see. And I say that to be real because my husband had a wandering eye when I first met him. He still was over there. And I had to correct his ass all the time going, look, we can continue this thing or not. But you decide if this is what you needed or what you just going to sacrifice to have. Because I'm not going to be a either or you're going to, because trust me, it's not hard for me to find somebody. You know what I mean? We're in Hollywood. It's not very hard, you know, right? I says, right. But I need to be real with yourself, right? So you I had to give him a moment to figure that out. You know what I mean? And to come back to me and be like, you know what? I might look, but it's just going to be a look. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now we know what, right? But when you sitting there with me and the whole time you doing this to somebody else, I ain't playing that shit.
Right. That's not cool.
People accept that shit, you know? And I think it's a problem. I told you I could talk about this shit all night. I think it's a problem, personally, when you allow your relationship to be the type of relationship that's like, you know, you have two people. Oh, that was the other thing. And I'm telling all, because I've told this before on my own show, so it ain't like I'm spitting, you know. So
go for it.
him and his ex used to talk about, oh, isn't he cute? Right? I think that's remember was it Eddie Murphy said give a nigga rope, want to be a cowboy?
A little bit of rope, right?
So what you've done is, if you allow your relationship to be like, everywhere you go, you guys go to the bar, you go to the club, you go to the beach or whatever, and you both are like, ooh, he's hot, she's hot, whatever your thing is, you're allowing them to be like, well, he probably wouldn't mind if I just, oh, he probably would, if he did it in front of me, so he must be doing whatever, blah, 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 blah. You've opened the door. It's a bad thing to do. You know,
that's good.
He didn't understand. He was like, well, me and my ex used to do that all the time. That's why.
So you made sure to go out with him so that you could kind of train him on what was expected.
But damn it, yeah. No, I'm kidding. No, we were in situations. We live in Hollywood. You'd be driving and some cute guy running by, and then we almost about to get in an accident. You know? And I think that, and this is something I talk about a lot, is, and I don't know if it's just me, but you will very rarely hear me tell you somebody's good looking or cute. Very rare. It has to just be some odd moment of a reason. I think it's an insecurity. When people, he's hot, oh my God, look at her. God damn, did you see that person? I'm like, is it that difficult to trip? Right? So for me, I'm more so like, I'll see somebody who's my type and I'll just be like, he's cute. Like in my head. And that's it. Even when I saw my husband and we waved with each other, I'd be like, hey, he's really cute. And then we just happened to catch eyes and I went, oh, hey. You know what I mean? So I'm saying that most people, on the other hand, take it too far. You know what I mean? He's never in the entire time, 19 years of our relationship, worried that I looked at somebody around him. Never. I'm not disrespectful. I think it's a disrespectful thing. I wouldn't want it done, so I don't want him doing it to me. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm always telling, especially young writers female writers that I talk to. I talk about this a lot. You know, have them do what you would want. Think like a fish. I mean, I'm going to treat you this way. You're never going to see me being disrespectful in front of you, so don't be disrespectful in front of me.
Yes.
You're going to make me wonder what the fuck are you doing when I'm not there.
Absolutely. That makes, I mean, yes. You have talked about this quite a bit. I could tell you, it's just, I love it. I love how you are able to, well, writers are good talkers normally, so I love that. 19 years is a long time though. I mean, I'm sure there was some ups and downs, some lessons learned. What's one of the best lessons that you've learned about being married?
I mean, you're going to hear this all the time. People tell you patience and all that stuff. You know, I mean, I think you just start to learn more so to trust people. And even if you don't, you kind of learn to be a little bit more content with the situation. And that doesn't mean that content can sound like a negative connotation.
It can, but I understand what you're saying.
But like my husband just went away today. You know what I mean? He went to Phoenix to see his brother. And 15 years ago, I'd have been in my head wondering what the fuck he's doing. Now I'm like, go bitch, go. I need 4 or 5 days chill at home when I want to. I can do my thing. I don't have to worry about the dogs. He takes the dogs. So there's a little bit of like, now I almost encourage him to go, you know, because it takes a few days to just kind of, I'm already super busy anyway, so it gives me a chance to do my thing. I don't have to come home and cook. I don't have to worry about his stuff. I don't have to worry about, you know what I mean? So it just gives me a moment to just chill. I can sit on the floor and stretch if I want to without the dogs jumping on me, like whatever it is, you know? I don't want that all the time, but here for like 3 or 4 days, that's fine. That's all I ask for, you know? And because I'm very busy, like whenever I get a new writing assignment, I found a beautiful hotel that I love in Ventura that I go to for like a week, and I just write. And I'm just sitting there all day. I move my desk right to the view where I'm looking out at the beautiful beach. You know what I mean? The sun's coming down. It's just gorgeous. I order room service. I go down to the gym and work out, take a walk on the beach, and I just unwind. You know what I mean? And that way I could write till 4 o'clock in the morning and sleep till noon and do whatever it is I want to do. You know what I mean? And so I do that like a couple times a year. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah. So I
I
think
actually did that with my first book. I took some time and I would just go to this particular coffee shop. They knew my name by the time I finished the book, and I would be there all day long. And they were like, anything we can get for you, bro? I mean, they started ordering me food. That's how well they started. It was a Caribou coffee. I don't even like Caribou anymore. But it was I was there so much. I think I had it too much.
Right.
But yes, I did it, like pulling away and doing that writing, but finding things that are healthy for you inside of the relationship. Right. So that it doesn't get redundant. That's what I kind of hear you saying in that realm, right?
The funny thing, we're almost 19 years in October. We still have sex almost every day.
Yes.
Almost every single day. You know what I mean? I see somebody laugh.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
True thing. It's a true thing.
Is that a secret to the relationship? Is that a secret? Is that the part of the secret sauce to the relationship?
I think it helps because I think that a lot of people cheat out of frustration a lot. You know what I mean? Frustration comes when you haven't been relieved sometimes. You know what I mean? When you're not relieved, you start taking more risks to get relieved. You know, You're relieved, you're like, I'm good. Yeah, but I'm good. You know what I mean? That's just my stupid opinion about it, you know. But yeah, I think it helps a ton, you know. And I think it also helps that I'm just being fucking hella blunt with you.
Go for it.
I don't like masturbating very much. I'd much rather be there with my husband. So
I think that's a healthy thing when you're in a relationship. You know, I feel like if you're masturbation is definitely healthy when you're single, and I mean it's not bad in a relationship, but when you're definitely single, it's healthy to keep you from doing things that you may not want to do, make bad decisions, like you said, relieving yourself. But certainly in a relationship, being able to have that touch, you know, and getting used to that with your partner, like you said, feeling relieved. I get that.
And I think you need to communicate with, and I'm sure you talk about this a lot in what you do, you know, people need to communicate with what they want. And you also need to communicate with when you're touching your partner. That's why I think all partners should give each other a massage. Because you need to learn what somebody likes and what they don't like. You know, like I know that my husband is he has a bad back, like when I first met him, which is why he had a trainer when I met him. So I know that certain spaces that I touch him, he's going to be a little bit more jumpy about. Certain spaces I touch, he's going to be more like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yes.
So why not make your partner feel good by experimenting? But for you're trying to learn about them. You know what I mean? I think that could be like another way. People are like, oh, I don't want to touch their feet. Their feet aren't cute, but damn it, touch the ankles. You know what I mean?
Get as close as you can, right?
You know what I mean? Damn it, go get a pedicure together. You know what I mean? It's 2020. Fuck all that macho bull crap. You know what I mean? Be a dude and take care. Make that shit look pretty. Y'all be
That's
lying.
So true.
Your feet look fucked up. Ain't that stupid?
Right.
Feet fucked up. Which is another.
Fix your feet. That's right. Fix your feet.
I personally believe that men should be manscaping themselves. Like, you know, I live here in West Hollywood. I don't know what it's like there in Atlanta. I mean, no offense to any bears, but there's just way too many of them for me. Just don't get it. I love the hair on the chest, the hair on the legs, but in your private and your butt, it should be clean. That's all I'm going to say. It should be clean.
Look, I mean, women got the same thing, right?
It should be cut.
Women have the same situation. So, yeah, I'm with it.
I shouldn't be able to put my hands between that. Nah, dude, I can't.
Just braid it. Just braid it. Don't take it down. Just braid it.
Always with the tank top hair coming up. I can't.
What, out the sides, just like this. I love you, man. You are awesome. I love your authentic, transparent vibe. It's like refreshing in this day and age. But I guess that's why you're an amazing writer, amazing podcaster. It's amazing what you do, because you just have that level of authenticity that allows you to exude the truth of what your writing needs in order to be successful. So I appreciate you for even doing any of that. Tell us where we can find you and your podcast so we can make sure we're all following that and staying up with you.
Yeah, you can find me at Hilliar Guess on Instagram, on Twitter. You can follow my show, Screenwriters Rant Room, at Screenwriters RR on Twitter, or you could look us up, screenwritersrr.com. You know what I mean? We're out there. We're everywhere. I'm really easy to find. You know, just punch in my name. I got pages and pages of Google shit, so you'll find me really easy. So
I love it. Oh, one thing I was going to ask you. So if you're, let's say you're an author and you have a fiction book, where do you go to find, like, what's the best platform to find somebody who can help you turn it into a script?
That's a really good question. I don't know if there is such a platform. There may be. Actually, there's a couple places, at least I know on Facebook, where I've seen this, where authors for screenplays, I'm not sure what it is, something like that. You know what I mean? Where you could put in, hey, I'm looking for a screenwriter for this type of a book, to adapt my book based on this. You know, I'm sure there's Craigslist. I'm sure there's, you could freaking tweet it nowadays. You know what I mean?
True.
50 people will respond to it, especially if you say there's pay. You know what I mean? That's gonna grab people like really quick,
I believe that.
And hopefully the pay is decent, and hopefully you have an idea of what it is you want to do, so that somebody isn't stuck creating the whole world for you, and you think you're supposed to get $1 million for your book that sold 2,000 copies.
Right.
So, which happens a lot. I get asked all the time to adapt books that nobody's ever heard of. You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's a good idea, but not for them pennies.
That makes sense. Right. Not for the pennies. Right. So good feat, and put it out there so that people can catch it. I love it. Thank you so much for that. Yes, my man, you are amazing. And thank you again for coming on the show and sharing all this wisdom with us. 50 years looks good on you. I appreciate it, man. What's that?
You're in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna be there soon. As soon as this all clears up, I got like 2 or 3 projects we're supposed to be shooting there. So I'll be there for a while.
Well, let me know, because we will get together. I got some great friends who are now like actors and writers here with this from this platform. So that'll be great to have you involved and included, and make sure you feel like you're at home.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. You be blessed, and much success to your relationship too.
Hey, keep doing good shit, and keep bringing out positive stuff of like men. I think that's great. So
thank you so much. I appreciate that. Have a beautiful day, bro.
all right.